All right, we're at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Royalty out here in Fair Oaks, and we have it's a beautiful home out here. Let's see if we can get out of the sun. A lot of this older cedar siding on here, and it's in varying degrees of condition. I guess is a lot of it is in good shape. Some of it is not. So basically, as we were talking about that, we were looking at doing a modified tear off. Where we can use the siding as substrate, we certainly would do that and keep that on there. Where we can't, which turns out to be it's just about a third of the house that's in condition that we can't use a tear off. So we'd look at approaching it in that way, and still not affecting the installation quality or warranty, but just doing it in a way where we could do a modified tear off and and save a little bit of money. So we would be going with a colonial rough sawn siding. That's what we would be doing here. We'd be looking at doing some porch ceiling all the way around. We have a lot of porch ceiling. Actually, it's just about 10 squares of porch ceiling between this lower story here, the breezeway, and then some rear porch. So it's got a lot of porch ceiling on the house. So that's kind of what we were looking at. We'll start over here on the front right of the house. They'd be replacing the garage doors. We would be doing a garage door wrap on both of these frames. There's a little bit of an apron above that would become Hardie plank. Our soffit and fascia, we would be looking at a fascia overlay. That's a 6-inch fascia covered up. The drip edge is actually covered. Southwest Metal Roof did the roofing a while back. So we would be doing a fascia overlay, and then the soffit, would be done with a Hardie soffit. We talked about this. There's certain areas where the woodpeckers are chewing through it. There's about 4 areas where it's falling, that's fallen out that you can see right here. There's about 4 of those areas. So I think the soffit is definitely something that would be worthwhile. To fix the problems. You can see there's other areas that have been fixed or patched up where the woodpeckers have been chewing. So it just makes sense. A lot of squirrels out here. So that's what we'd be doing there. Now here, where these beams are, the big 4x12s, those would all be faced. Everything that we're looking at here, this portion here, as well as this little trim piece, those would all be faced with Hardie. So basically wouldn't have any exposed wood on the outside of the home. We have 4x6, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 4x6 columns that would all be wrapped in the Hardie siding. We talked about this lattice and the railings. There's something we can really do there. But in terms of all these 4x6 columns, and we'll have 3 4x4 columns on the rear porch, those would all be wrapped in Hardie plank. And we do some base molding similar to what you see up here with like a 1x4, 1x6 actually. We would do some sort of shoe mold like that as well. Coming over here to the left front, we would be keeping this diagonal pattern. So you can see here, it looks really nice. It's I think a nice feature of the home, gives it that nice rustic look. So we would keep that. All these windows would be wrapped, these big vertical columns that extend all the way up to the peak of the gable there. That would all be done in Hardie plank, faced with Hardie plank, so we won't have any exposure problems. There are several doors that are stained. You can see up top as well as below. And then a couple in the breezeway and the back of the home. We're going to leave those alone, so we're not going to have anything to do with the staining or resurfacing, finishing, refurbishing of any of the doors. Obviously, all this area that's siding up here would be included as well, up on that second story balcony. Coming over to the left side of the home, here's an area, again, it's pretty well notated on my spec sheet, but this is one area where, especially behind these trees, it's the cedar's in severe decay there, so that's not even an area we want to fool around with. We'll do a complete tear off there. The soffit's falling right here at the chimney, as well as about 8 feet, 6 feet going this way. The soffit's all falling down as well. So all this area, we again just don't want to mess around with it. Full tear off, resheathe the wall with a 7/16 inch OSB, our Tyvek seam tape flashing, and then the colonial rough sawn. You can see this little 8-foot piece here hopefully you can see in the video. This little 8-piece foot of soffit there is falling down. All these windows again are going to be wrapped, retrimmed in Hardie 1x4. All this corner trim here would be done in Hardie 1x4. And then up top here, anywhere we see kind of a pretty distinct discoloration there, it's the that board, because it's a thinner board, it's pretty much warped and not going to be usable. So anywhere we see that, we're basically tearing that off and resheathing the wall with an equal thickness sheathing, and then doing our Hardie on top of that. Again, all windows, everything, doors, everything, corner trim will be done in a Hardie 1x4 equivalent product. You can see the soffit again sagging up there. This is one thing we didn't talk about, but it looks like a lot of these, it looks like termite tracks. I hope it's not, or if it is, I hope it's been treated for, but I noticed it too on the front columns. So hopefully that's been addressed and handled there. And you can see in all this area here, just a lot of siding. I mean, there's just shy of 30 squares of siding on the house, so it's a huge project here. So you can see all the areas, all these windows. Again, all this area needs to be torn off back here. This area is pretty good. We got some little area right there that needs to be looked at and addressed and probably torn out. But everywhere else is in good shape, is a good candidate for an overlay, including this wall here. So again, it was just about a third of this total siding that needs to be torn off and resheathed. We have all this area underneath the rear porch, as well as the rear porch ceiling up in here. So you see all that, plus the breezeway that extends down here. All this siding. There's really not any areas of siding that we're omitting from our scope of work. Everything is covered. You can see up there, especially where we talked about the flashing, where that sidewall dies into the metal roof. You can see that wood is really deteriorated and rotten there. And then these are the 3 4x columns, 4x4x8 columns that would need to be wrapped in Hardie plank as well. And then this side, again on the right side, up on this second story here, this would just be obviously no-brainer. That all needs to come off. You can see it's just rotten, it's warping and curling. There's no sense in using that. We couldn't use that as substrate and be thinking we're doing a good job. So all that needs to be torn off. This wall's in great shape, just as it is underneath all the porch area, the breezeway. That's all perfect candidate for an overlay. This is all perfect candidate for an overlay. There is a hose bib, and I noticed a couple GFIs too, so we would do our little